The Swans are 9-1 after a thrilling 6-point victory over the Pies. And Kane, the Pies started really hot. They were up by 33 points in the second quarter, but couldn't get the job done.
They couldn't. Their pressure was as good as you're going to see from any side this year, particularly in the first quarter. So conditions were suiting this, but they were just swarming. That's the best word for it. Every time Sydney picked up the ball, Nat, it was a Collingwood player right in their face. I just thought defensively as good as you were ever going to see, as committed as you are ever going to see. And Sydney couldn't get through. They could not move the footy, and they couldn't either turn the footy in their front half over either, which is the easiest way to score. And life was difficult from then on, from quarter time onwards, where Collingwood kicked 5 goals in the first quarter. It was a little bit more difficult for them. They only kicked 5 goals for the remainder of the game. There's some reasons as to why that happened, but you can't fault their commitment tonight.
It's hard to maintain that rage when it comes to the pressure for a full 4 quarters, especially when the Sydney Swans have so many stars who stepped up to the plate in the third quarter. But it was their ruckman in Brodie Grundy, who is just growing and growing in stature every single week. What a dominant performance. 34 touches, 24 of those contested, 15 hit-outs to advantage, 12 clearances and a goal.
Well, the numbers are hard to believe. They really are. So Steen goes off injured there. So that did favour and sway the numbers. After that point, clearly no one was going to be able to compete with Brodie Grundy. They didn't have a second ruck. So you can see Buller, it was a bit of Long, it was a bit of McStay. Good luck to you. That's what he did. He was really smart with the way that he did this and just dominated the contest. That gave the Sydney Swans the field advantage and field position off the back of winning clearance. And he's having another very, very good season. Blakey's the other one we've got to mention as well. Once again, Collingwood just allowed him to do as he pleased. He's ended up with 39 and nearly 900 metres gained. So those two, probably 1 and 2 in Sydney's best and fairest, with Isaac Heaney was a bit quieter tonight.
Yeah, career best numbers there for him as well. And we should just mention Oscar Steen, just his 8th game of AFL. It doesn't look good. A suspected ACL. He will have scans in the coming days to have a look at that knee. But obviously disappointing news for Oscar Steen and the Pies. Let's take a look at some of those fourth quarter moments, because it was a seesawing affair. The Pies had some chances, as did the Sydney Swans. But that goal there from Logan McDonald is outrageous.
Over his head from Logan McDonald. Isaac Heaney spent 10 minutes on the bench in the last quarter in crunch time. You can see it there, just ticked over 10 minutes. They couldn't get him back on. Dean Cox, the frustration. Finally, with under 5 minutes to go, they get him back on. If they had have lost this game, that would have been a huge story. In the end, they hold on and win in a really close one. Papley just did his bit. Kicked 2 big goals, one in the third quarter from the boundary, but it was tight, it was tense. Collingwood came with a plan, but as you said, was always going to be hard to sustain that, particularly when there's some key pieces not there, Nat.
Yes, some key pieces, and you might be alluding to skipper Darcy Moore, who wasn't there, also Darcy Cameron, their ruckman was out, Pat Lipinski, or was it someone else?
Might have been.
Okay, well, let's get to your volcano.
Well, here it is, and Collingwood gave up on their season, and the season was done when they opted to cook Scott Pendlebury in Anzac Day. That's the reality of it. When you put the individual in front of the team and you played him 98% in that last quarter so that he could get 43 and win the medal and then rest the next week against Hawthorn. We know they now drew that game. Then you play, then you rest, even though they're such crucial games, that 3-week window where you've prioritised breaking the record and Anzac Day instead of winning games of footy. So if Pendlebury plays tonight, if he plays against Hawthorn, there's 2 extra wins, and Collingwood is sitting with Brisbane in the top 6 equal in the ladder, and there's no denying that. Pendlebury plays tonight, they win. Pendlebury plays against Hawthorn, they win, and they've given up on this season as a result. Next week's going to be amazing. Don't get me wrong. We're going to all love the celebration and get around it, but it's about the individual, not about the team. And I think if they had their time again, knowing the results, they would have done things differently.
So I can understand the 5-day break between Hawthorn. This is a 6-day break, so you think maybe he could have got up for this game. It is going to be an iconic moment, though.
No doubt.
In Australian rules football history.
Yeah, he still could have played. Like, I just look at Geelong, the best coach team in the league. Dangerfield, 5-day break with travel, goes and plays and gives it his all in a Thursday night game that they win, because they know it's Brisbane and they know they need Dangerfield. So he played 12 minutes of the last quarter the previous week against Collingwood. Game wasn't in doubt. They knew they were going to win. Dangerfield sits, so he's fresh, goes to Brisbane. Looked pretty sharp to me from what I saw. Pendlebury could have done the same, and he could have played next week and tonight and against Hawthorn, and we could have all been fine.
Except that it wouldn't have been at the MCG.
Yeah, but what do you want? That's the point. Do you want individual? That's the whole point of my argument. Do you want the individual accolades, or do you want team success? And he's always been about team success. I know this is a big one, but Scott Pendlebury's philosophy for the time that I've seen him play has always been team first. On this occasion, the club and him have sacrificed wins for, manufacturing this outcome.
So the season's cooked for Collingwood?
Yeah, season's done now.
Cooked. All right, we will remember this moment. We'll see what happens at the end of the season.
If you're in it for the now, like Geelong are, what a shrewd pick up. And I think there's other clubs now. We're seeing it with Sydney with some of their mature age players coming in and others that they're going to be very valuable players. And then when you compare his numbers to a player that I'm reading is going to get $10 million offers, Nat, from Adelaide,
Cha-ching!
Zach Bailey. Well, is there much difference there? In fact, they're very, very similar numbers. And now I know Mannagh has just recently re-signed on a 3-year deal, which just quietly, Geelong just got that one done.
Should have held out for more.
I'd hate to think what he's been paid. I would think he would be under the AFL average wage, which is about $500,000. So he's getting paid well. But compare that to Bailey, who's going to get double for 10 years, and the numbers are pretty much identical. What a bargain they've got.
Well, another mature ager the Cats picked up quite a few years ago now in the draft is Tom Stewart. They got him from South Barwon Football Club, but he was a brick wall last night. 17 intercepts from his 28 disposals. And Kane, we have behind the goals vision to demonstrate just how much he can hurt you when you leave him to his own devices.
Never seen footage of this game exclusive to us here. That's what you get, and you have to see it from behind the goals to explain what a genius he is. So the decision making is what I want to watch. How quickly he decides, righto, I've got to press and not fold back. So he's making that decision in an instant. He's got his man there, he can see him, he knows where it is. As soon as his man becomes irrelevant, I'm back and I'm helping. So the 7 intercept marks, it's all about the decision making, the timing, and then clearly there's some athleticism and brilliant skill. That one they just kick straight to him, but that's to do with his positioning as well. So remember a year or so ago, teams came after him really hard.
Yeah.
And he didn't like the tag at all. No one does. And they said, well, we better get him in the midfield. We better do some different things with Tom Stewart. That's coming. So Geelong, that will be the next test for them. Clubs are not going to allow him to do what he did last night. And I was disappointed in Brisbane because you played Geelong, you got Holmes, you got Smith, you got Stewart. They're the 3. You got to take 1 or 2 of them out. Brisbane did neither and let them do as they please, as well as Shaun, who we've touched on.
Speaking of taggers, I was interested during the week to see who Geelong coach Chris Scott would send O'Shane Mullen to. In the end, it was Lachie Neale. Now, it probably didn't stop his impact completely, but it was his work that he was able to do offensively and hit the scoreboard, which he did against Collingwood the week before, that was also impressive.
So this is the evolution of a run with player. Firstly, you start out and your whole focus is don't let my man touch the footy. But then when you get more experience, you go, okay, we've got it. I'm going to make him work. Look at the speed. That's what they love about him. So good luck to Lachie, who's into his 30s now, trying to keep up with this freakish athlete from Ireland. They call him the Irish Dacos. Yeah. He was that much of a star over there. And now he's learning. And I think he's getting his footy in dangerous positions in the front half of the ground, like we touched on with Dacos last week. So, yeah, he's a weapon. Lachie still didn't give up and had close to 30, but I just think O'Shea's possessions the other way are becoming very valuable.
So is it a case of Lachie Neale just couldn't go with him rather than choosing not to go with him?
Just physically couldn't go with him. And that's going to become more common for him because what player that he's going to be tagging on firstly has the defensive capabilities. They're all superstars. They don't defend. And then who can go with him physically? Probably not many. So it's going to be a real weapon for them. He can also play small defender, as we've seen as well. So some good versatility. They love him, and rightly so.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.